Hey guys, I'm here with another video on another piece of gear that someone was awesome enough to send to me. This time, we've got the Lensbaby Velvet 85. This video, like most of my videos, won't be me talking to the camera the whole time. I'd like to take you on a bit of a journey where I actually use this lens in a variety of circumstances. It's gonna be a little disjointed because it's a busy time of year. It's the holiday season. So I'm just keeping this with me wherever I go. And if there's an opportunity to shoot with it, I'm gonna whip it out and shoot with it and see what we get and talk to you as we go. And that's what we're gonna do. But before we do that, before we get into any of the footage of the real life hands-on experience of shooting with this lens, let's just cover some basics and get that out of the way. Let's first talk about the build quality and handling of this guy. You need to know first off that it's pretty beefy. It's all metal and it's solid. It doesn't feel cheap. It certainly it feels weighty and it's substantial. Which I like that. On the other hand, it's a little heavy, especially when you've got it mounted to smaller APS-C bodies. With the 85 focal length, when I stick that on my Fuji gear, I'm gonna get about 128-ish millimeters focal length, which it's pretty tight. It's gonna be more for headshots or narrow focus situations, certainly macro. This is a great macro lens with a 1:2 ratio on the macro and the 9 inches of close focus. It's got an extensive focus throw, though you're going to be twisting for quite a while to get it into that macro mode. It is dampened, maybe a little too much for my taste. I like a little bit looser of a focus pull myself. Aperture clicks are, they've got a click on each major stop, although there's no reason why you can't do a half a stop or quarter or whatever. My one complaint with build quality is that it almost seems like the Fuji mount was an afterthought because it's really loose. And it doesn't feel good when you're focusing. When you pull the focus one way or the other and you hear that rattle. They need to do some better machining on that Fuji mount. It's probably, I'm guessing that they've got a better mount for some of their more full frame sizes like the Canon and Nikon and Sony, but when it comes to the Fuji, they've got to tighten that up. It's also got this nice lens hood, solid metal, and it screws in. And it's got a little lip in it. It's very interesting. I haven't seen a lens hood quite like this, but it marries well to the lens and it offers some nice protection. Although this does create an interesting lens flare situation where it kind of cuts the lens flare in half. I'm not sure if I got a photo of that, but I certainly noticed it while I was using it. Enough about lens quality, let's talk about image quality. This thing is so unique, it's so interesting. I've never quite shot with anything like this. There are a few vintage lenses I have shot with that come close. This lens is a lens that you'll want to pick up for more artistic endeavors when you want specifically a very soft focus look. My very first test shots with this lens were of my dog. And while I wasn't shooting wide open, I still noticed that the glow this lens produces had a very interesting effect on my dog's hair, making it look painterly, almost like brush strokes. And with the kids off for the holiday break, I got lots of shots of toys and of crafting activities. I really enjoy these macro shots of this Play-Doh activity, for instance. At higher apertures, it's plenty sharp to pull out those details, and the bokeh is smooth and pleasant. Almost what I describe as being watercolory.
Daddy, photos up for Dad. Dad, happy birthday to you today.
Occasionally I did notice some unpleasant banding happening at the edges of objects though.
Well, where are you at, Ed? Are you almost halfway?
About.
I have a shoot here in Zion, a family portrait shoot. So I've made my way into Zion. I'm actually just waiting. They're doing some road construction here, so I'm stopped at the road construction. And I did bring along that Lensbaby Velvet 85, and I'm not going to use it for the session prop or like the family photos that the main thing they're paying me for, but I'm gonna see if they want some headshots, just kind of throw them in, and if they do, I'm gonna try to shoot those headshots with that Velvet 85 and just see how it does. I won't shoot it wide open because that's probably just going to be a little bit too extreme, at least for a client, but I'll probably shoot it at 2.8 and see how those come out. So if they're interested.
Okay, the headshots did happen. Here's my favorite shot from the session, and here you'll notice two different looks. One of these shots was with the Fuji 56mm 1.2 lens, and the other was with the Velvet 85. Both were captured at f2.8. See if you can guess which is which. You guessed it, if the compression of the background didn't give it away, I'll bet the difference in sharpness did. Fuji glass is as sharp as glass gets, and you'll notice extreme detail with that 56 1.2 portrait lens. It has a much more clinical and precise look, which most often is desirable in most photographic settings. However, many would argue its extreme sharpness may actually be unflattering for average folks with imperfect skin in a normal portrait setting. While taking a look at this much softer headshot with the Velvet 85, you may be able to see why a client may actually prefer this look. Another characteristic to note here is the golden glow in her scarf, a very cool effect here brought out by the Velvet 85. The other thing I'll note is the difference in color. The Velvet 85 seems to have more warmth to it, especially in the skin tones.
The portrait session went exceedingly well, and now I'm hiking up this hill just a little bit on the way out of Zion. I think I'm gonna try to get a long landscape shot with this Lensbaby 85, just for funsies. Out of shape. Some snow off in the distance, in the shady side of Zion, and some sun glinting across the front of that red rock. So I want to see how much detail this lens provides.
This shot was a composite of 4 images taken with that narrow Velvet 85 with an aperture of f11. Zooming into 100%, you'll notice that the edge detail of objects are okay, but you do have that sort of creamy look, as I mentioned earlier. I think this can work for landscapes, but it's important to know what you're going to get. For photorealistic, extreme detail landscape photography, this probably isn't the lens to choose. But for a flowing or more organic effect, I can see a place for this in landscape photography.
All right, we're here to nature hike today. It's like week 2 or week 3 of having this lens, but I have the Lensbaby 85 Velvet. I'm gonna try to do some macro shots, and I've also got this really rad 5-in-1 reflector. It's pretty cheap on Amazon, but it lets you reflect the sun at small things, so it's pretty handy. And this is the first time I'm using it, so we'll use this. We'll get some macro shots, and we'll see what we get. I'm gonna go down to f1.8 and do the same thing. And now I'm gonna take it up to f6.
ducks. You can't have them.
These foreground, they look really, really cool. All blurred out with this lens. There's an interesting effect this lens has on foreground blurring. I can't really describe it, but I'll show you the photos.
I really like the glow I'm getting. I feel like I'm in heaven.
It's a heavenly duck glow.
It's a heavenly glow. If this lens is meant for this, but we're gonna do a little landscape shot here. It's a pretty, look out. Ouch.
Did you wear the wrong shoes again?
No, I actually wore the right shoes. This isn't really, I don't think, meant for doing the low aperture and the high aperture with this lens, just to kind of compare what we've got here. Is a pretty landscape scene.
In this example, you'll see that the shot at f5.6 looks fairly ho-hum. It's not sharp enough to be a quality landscape photo, and so it just looks mediocre. On the other hand, this shot, wide open at 1.8, is more striking and brings an artistic look that lends itself well to a scene like this, making it appear more like a stylized painting than a photo.
Phoebe! He's going down the cliff. He wants the ducks. He's willing to risk his life for the ducks.
Come on. That glow is really interesting that that's going down that street.
As we near the conclusion of this review, let's take a peek at some bokeh balls. As an everyday shoot-around lens stopped down at apertures f4 or higher, it's just okay and probably not going to be anybody's first pick. But at lower apertures, in landscape situations, the painterly signature of this lens can be striking. It can also be an excellent choice for detail shots where hazy, Christmassy glow is the desired outcome. But where this lens really shines is when you want to get that classic, soft, vintage glow in a portrait setting.
So that's it, guys. That's all the photos, that's all the footage, that's all I've got. It's probably about time to send this Lensbaby, back to its loving family and move on to the next piece of gear to try out. Would I recommend this? Absolutely, in the right circumstances. And those circumstances would be, let's say you're in a creative rut and you need a challenge, or you want to bring a different sort of dimension to an artistic type shoot. Bring out this lens and see what you're able to get in those situations. I think that could do a lot to add to a portfolio. Certainly it would do a lot to get you out of a creative rut and give yourself a challenge, or go out and try some macro shooting with it and see what you can get. See the differences that you'll get with those higher apertures versus those lower, those glowing like apertures, and get some more abstract shots. It's a fun lens to play with, certainly. So anyway, definitely I'd recommend it for those very specific times. Is it a daily driver, a daily portrait lens? No, it's not. But that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again real soon.
Not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it.